Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. 10 minutes before the wedding, I discovered that I suddenly had the ability to read minds, but the only person I could hear was my husband, Dylan. The wedding is about to take place, and I'm so nervous when I heard Dylan say this. I looked at him in astonishment just as I was about to make a joke at his expense. I realized he was standing there with a serious expression on his face. I was a bit confused. Could it be that I was hallucinating? It must be that I was too nervous, which is why I started hearing things. After I finished comforting myself, I heard Dylan's voice again. If it weren't for Stella rejecting me last night, I wouldn't have married Nora. If she weren't so obedient, I would have run away long ago. I stared intently at Dylan, trying to discern something from his eyes. The name Stella is not unfamiliar to me. Stella is Dylan's childhood sweetheart, and their relationship has always been very good. They have always had a great sense of boundaries, which is why I have never doubted them. I frowned. I didn't expect Dylan to have unusual feelings for Stella. I met Dylan at the beginning of my freshman year. At the beginning of the school year, I didn't listen to the seniors' advice and stubbornly brought 5 large bags of luggage. However, when it came time to move my luggage, it became a challenge. 5 seniors had already struggled to lift my bags. At that moment, Dylan appeared. He effortlessly picked up my luggage and casually started chatting with me beside it. Finally, he dropped me off at the dormitory entrance. "Junior, next time don't bring so much luggage. After all, I just want to get to know you, and I don't want to risk my life here." Looking at Dylan's humorous and witty demeanor, I couldn't help but laugh. It was also because of this matter that Dylan and I successfully added each other as friends. We would talk for a long time every day, and over time, it naturally led us to be together. I furrowed my brows, unable to understand why Dylan liked Stella, yet still wanted to be with me. Perhaps my expression was too grim, but Dylan, who was burdened with his own thoughts, surprisingly came over to comfort me. "Nora, what's wrong? Why does your face look so pale?" I looked into Dylan's eyes, listening to his true feelings. This woman is really annoying. Does she really think she's the center of the world? "Dylan, why do you think Stella didn't come today? Aren't you good friends?" I asked, pretending to be casual. Dylan's smile suddenly froze. "Today is our wedding. It doesn't matter whether she comes or not." I didn't say much more. I was silently calculating in my heart how to escape the wedding. Now that all the relatives at home have come, no one would believe me if I suddenly said that Dylan has fallen for someone else. Just as I was planning to go through the wedding process today and confront Dylan in the evening, the door to the dressing room was suddenly pushed open. Stella, wearing a wedding dress, breathlessly walked up to Dylan and said, "Dylan, you said that as long as..." As I turned back, "You would always wait for me. I wonder if your words still count." I raised an eyebrow. Isn't this the perfect opportunity for me to get rid of that scumbag Dylan? I looked at Dylan with tears in my eyes. "What's going on? Didn't you say today was our wedding, and it didn't matter whether she came or not?" In the eyes of the 2 women, he was all they could see. And at that moment, Dylan's vanity was greatly satisfied. Truly, I am as charming as ever. I listened to Dylan's heartfelt words and rolled my eyes internally. What a disgusting scumbag. But on the surface, I remained calm and put pressure on Dylan. Now our 2 families' relatives are all outside. "Dylan, if you call off the wedding now, it will be hard for you to get by out there in the future." I didn't say anything wrong. Nowadays, my family's company in the city is involved in almost every industry. If Dylan dares to abandon me, our family could blacklist him in the industry by tomorrow. But Dylan was not aware of my family's financial situation. He simply looked at me with annoyance. "It's just a matter of getting a new bride. It's not a big deal." I nodded to show my respect for their great love, then turned to call my cousin. "Cousin, this hotel belongs to your family, so you didn't charge us for the venue fee. But now it's different. The bride is changing. So just continue to collect the money from them according to the hotel's prices." My cousin widened her eyes and pointed at Dylan's nose, scolding, "Do you know who my cousin is? If you dare to break off the engagement today, just watch me not kill you." I reached out to stop my cousin. "It's okay. We can talk about this later. If there's money to be made, We shouldn't let it go to waste. Remember to charge the original price. Our hotel is divided into 3 tiers. 88,000, 108,000, and 288,000 based on the rooms currently occupied. We need to charge you 650,200 yuan. I watched as Dylan's originally calm face suddenly turned anxious. Don't think that just because you say a few words I'm going to believe you. Nora, your family is just an ordinary one. My cousin rolled her eyes in disdain and took out her work ID to show Dylan. You are running a black shop, and why do your relatives want me to pay? I scoffed. Dylan, do you really not know the pricing standards of this place? Your family knows that we are covering the hotel expenses, and they immediately called a bunch of strangers to come here and mooch off the food and drinks. What we are calculating now is just your family's share. If you don't have any money, then hurry up and get lost. Dylan was so angry that his face turned red, but he couldn't refute me. Nora, I was just momentarily confused. You mustn't take it seriously. Our wedding will still go on as planned. My cousin, fearing that I might go soft-hearted, spoke up directly. Sir, if you still can't come up with the money, I'm going to have to call security to throw you out. Stella, sitting beside them, could no longer stay still. It's okay, brother Dylan. I never see. About these external things, I think the hotel next door is quite nice. Why don't we go to the hotel next door? I almost burst out laughing. Dylan was not taking care of Stella at all. He was clearly just catering to his own vanity, just like now. Dylan had already started cursing Stella in his heart. It seemed their relationship was nothing more than this. Dylan's family has always boasted that he is a top student from the big city. If he leaves this hotel in disgrace today, then tomorrow they will become the talk of the town. Dylan had no choice but to come over with a long face and plead with me. Nora, I was just being foolish earlier. Please don't take it seriously. Our wedding will still go on as planned. I smiled and clapped my hands. No need. Your love shouldn't be disturbed by someone like me, a mere mortal. I'll step back. Finally, my cousin called all the security guards in the hotel, wanting to drive everyone from Dylan's family out. Dylan's mother rushed over angrily to accuse me. Nora, I always thought you were unworthy of my son. And now I see you truly have the heart of a snake and a scorpion. The wedding is about to start, and you've called it off. Do you really think our family is easy to bully? I smiled and shook my head. Auntie, please see clearly. It's your son's unresolved feelings outside that are causing him to want to marry me. Now look, others are chasing after him in wedding dresses. If I don't run away now, I will always be the one betrayed in the future. Dylan's mother was left speechless by what I said, and she fell to the ground wailing. Everyone, come and judge for yourselves. My son is getting married today, and the bride's family is backing out and trying to wrongfully accuse my son. How could I not know what kind of person my son is? Besides, our family has given you money. If you want to leave, that's fine, but return the money to us and also compensate for my son's loss of youth and the hotel expenses for today. Our family will not pay a single cent. Dylan's mother's approach is exactly to my liking. I projected the surveillance footage from the dressing room onto the screen and watched as Dylan's mother turned pale. Auntie, now you can't say that I wronged your son, can you? Dylan's relatives at home also began to whisper among themselves. I really didn't expect it. Dylan looks so respectable, but behind the scenes, he's playing so wildly. Then his fiancé's family is quite wealthy. I remember this hotel is part of a national chain, and it turns out it's all owned by them. Not letting her son become a living son-in-law is already good enough. Yet he actually has another woman outside. Dylan's family turned pale, and then purple. They never expected that my family background was so ordinary. Yet I had such wealthy relatives. Dylan's mother had no choice but to get up from the ground, smiling as she walked over to me. Nora, what I just said was all out of anger. I don't recognize any of those women outside. The only daughter-in-law I acknowledge is you. Look, they truly are mother and son. Even their lies are identical. Aunt, I remember you just said you would pay me back. So let's calculate the money. The dowry my family provided was a car, which has now been used by your son, equivalent to 5 million yuan. If you plan to return it, we can just calculate the expenses. Also, regarding the money I spent on renovations at home, you can just give me 1 million. I hope you can repay the money sooner rather than later. Otherwise, what awaits you is a court summons. Dylan came over with a sullen face and grabbed my arm. Nora, do you really have to make our family look so bad? I smiled and brushed his hand away. You were the ones who embarrassed me first. And by the way, I've kept all those receipts safe. If you dare to deny it, I have evidence. Dylan's mother wanted to rush up and hit me. I knew you had bad intentions, just waiting to take my son's money. I pointed to the surveillance camera above. Auntie, there are cameras here. If you hit me, I wouldn't mind taking another house from your family. Dylan's family had no choice but to reluctantly give up. My cousin saw their dejected appearance and directly called security to have them all thrown out. I stood at the door watching them, covered in dust and dirt, standing in the street as Dylan's mother angrily tore at Stella's wedding dress. My son's wedding was completely ruined by you, you vixen old lady. What are you talking about? It was clearly your son who came to me last night to propose, asking me to be with him. I watched this dog-eat-dog farce with great interest. This was just the beginning. I wonder what Dylan and Stella will think when they see that I have become their direct superior tomorrow. Suddenly, my parents came up and held my hand. Daughter, you mustn't let yourself be wronged. Your dad and I can easily help you take revenge on that scumbag. My eyes suddenly became moist. My parents had repeatedly opposed this marriage, and I had a big fight with them because of Dylan. If my parents hadn't finally made a concession, I would have probably ended up marrying into Dylan's family all alone. Just now, if I had gone all the way with Dylan, I would have told him my true identity and had my parents come out to preside. It seems that Dylan is not destined to enjoy the soft rice from my family. Mom and Dad, don't worry. Your daughter is not someone to be easily bullied. The next morning, I declined my parents' suggestion to take me to the company. I looked at them helplessly. Mom and Dad avenging Dylan and the others is one thing, but I also want to see what the environment at the grassroots level of the company is like. If you send me to the company, wouldn't that expose everything? As soon as I arrived at the company, I realized that my decision was absolutely the right one. Upon entering the company, I found a crowd gathered around someone cheering. Let us congratulate Stella on her promotion to manager of our department. Stella is the manager, so who am I? Just as I was about to look for the general manager to ask, Stella spotted me standing behind the crowd. Isn't this Miss Nora? How come your family is so wealthy, and yet you come to work at our company? You weren't just pretending about what you said yesterday, were you? Dylan chimed in. Where did that bravado from yesterday go? Are you too scared to speak now that Stella has become your boss? Someone next to her cautiously asked, Dylan, Stella, do you know the new staff member? It's not just about knowing. If it weren't for her, my boyfriend and I wouldn't have come this far. Listening to the mixed chatter of those around me, I gradually understood the ins and outs of this matter. It turns out that Dylan and Stella have always presented themselves as a couple at the company, and their relationship is very close. I watched Stella sweetly link her arm with Dylan's, and couldn't help but sigh to myself. No wonder they could become a couple. After such a messy argument yesterday, they could still be so affectionate today. It turns out to be Dylan's pursuer. Are girls nowadays so shameless, chasing after men even to the company? She doesn't even realize how outstanding Stella is. She became the manager of our department right after graduating from college. How dare she compete with Stella for a boyfriend? I raised an eyebrow. Interesting. I clearly remember the company's rules and regulations. If one does not make a significant contribution to the company, someone like Stella wouldn't even be able to become a department manager. After another 20 years, it seems there's something fishy going on. I ignored their words. First of all, I am not the new little employee you speak of, and secondly, if Stella is getting promoted, can I see the announcement from the company? Everyone looked at each other. Clearly, Stella had only been boasting verbally just now, unable to provide any evidence to prove that she had been promoted. At that moment, a portly man walked over. This young lady, Stella, was personally recommended by me for the position of department manager. The company is currently reviewing it, and I believe it is only a matter of time before she becomes the department manager. I glanced at his name tag and realized he was the company's general manager, Chester. No wonder he spoke so formally. I smiled as I took a contract out of my bag. I am afraid I have to disappoint you all for the time being. I will be serving as the department manager. Stella rushed over with an incredulous expression and snatched the contract from my hand. Impossible. Have you been taken care of by someone? Otherwise, how could you possibly become our department manager? Miss Stella, be cautious with your words. As far as I know, I have received much more education than you and am a year or two older. If you think I would be kept as a department manager, then what about you, who just confidently declared your intention to become a manager? I turned my head and smiled at the general manager. I hope the general manager can manage the company NY's employees well in the future. Otherwise, I have reason to raise objections to the board. Chester's expression suddenly turned cold. Miss Nora, even if you were sent by the headquarters, you have no right to meddle in my management. As for Stella, my previous recommendation was based on her performance, which is entirely reasonable. I looked at the angry eyes of the people around me, and now there was nothing left to misunderstand. It turns out that Dylan was also betrayed by Stella early on. I didn't rush to refute Chester. What Manager Chester said is true. I was too anxious. Chester thought I would give up right then, and after giving Stella a triumphant glance, he turned and left. Stella walked up to me and whispered, "So what if you came in from nowhere? You still can't provoke me." Then she turned around and said loudly, "Let's thank Nora for treating us to a delicious meal after work. Nora has been generous." The colleagues around erupted in chaos. Delicious restaurant. I've heard others say that just a casual visit there costs hundreds of thousands. Yes, I heard that you have to book a month in advance to secure a spot. The headquarters is truly different. Such a grand gesture. I smiled without speaking. The exquisite restaurant was a special gift for my parents on the day of my coming-of-age ceremony. Stella looked at me triumphantly. Nora wouldn't go back on her word, would she? I nodded. I'll cover today's expenses so everyone can order whatever they like. But this isn't because I'm from the head office and can be so generous. If everyone works hard, I'll consider giving raises. As dusk fell, Stella was the first to shut down her computer. Nora, I heard that the delicious restaurant requires a reservation in advance. Why haven't you made a move yet? You're not planning to use this as an excuse to fool us, are you? I raised my phone. How could that be? We can leave now. I've already had someone reserve the spot for us. Stella looked at me with a hint of doubt, and it wasn't until we arrived at the restaurant but were stopped by the waiter that she finally spoke up to mock me. Nora, if you really couldn't make a reservation, we wouldn't blame you. But getting stopped right in the lobby is such a disgrace to our company. I ignored Stella and just looked at the waiter with some confusion. My parents had told all the staff that I would be the future owner of this restaurant, so it didn't make sense for me to be stopped like this. This young lady, without an appointment, I cannot let you in. I patiently told her the room number I had reserved again. But to my surprise, the waitress's expression changed dramatically, and she looked at me with disgust. That room is our boss's private room where she invites friends over. If you're going to make up a room number, at least make it a better one. If you don't have money, don't pretend to be rich. You don't look at all like the wealthy customers next to you. I looked at the clothes on Stella, and then at the clothes on myself. Stella wears all knockoffs. How can you tell she's richer than me? I watched Estella look at the waiter with a hint of approval. Then I realized why she had been so difficult all along. It turned out she had been waiting for me here. Stella looked at me with a smug expression. Since that's the case, why don't I treat everyone to dinner tonight? I called over a passing waiter. Please bring your manager here. I clearly reserved a room, but this waiter refuses to let me in. Stella scoffed. Nora, you don't need to make a stand here. We don't want to join you in that. The colleagues who had originally stood by my side also began to express their dissatisfaction. Yes, if you don't have money to treat us to a meal, then don't boast. I didn't even have time to pick up the child. I stood there listening to their accusations without rebuttal, simply smiling at the waiter. I hope you won't regret what you just said. I'll regret it. I'm not afraid to tell you I have our manager as my backing. Even if you really booked the room today, I have plenty of ways to make sure you can't eat. At that moment, the restaurant manager rushed over. He first made the waiter who mocked me step back, then looked at me with a flattering expression. Boss, why didn't you call me in advance when you arrived? This is our new waiter, and I'll make sure to teach her a good lesson when I go back. A single word stirred up 1,000 waves, and now everyone present looked at me in astonishment. Especially the reaction of that waiter was the most pronounced. It's impossible. How could she be the owner of our restaurant? The manager glared at her fiercely. What's wrong with you today? I already told you to get to know the higher-ups, and now you've run into the boss. Hurry up and apologize to her. The waiter looked at me with a pale face. Boss, I'm sorry. I just didn't see clearly. I interrupted her. You didn't say that just now. You said the manager is your backing and that no matter what, you wouldn't let me eat. So I want to ask you. We are just meeting for the first time. Why do you have such malice towards me? Or is it that someone is instructing you to do this? Under my relentless questioning, the waiter's face grew paler and paler, and finally, with a guilty conscience, she pointed at Stella. It's all Stella. She knows I work here and specifically messaged me this afternoon to make things difficult for you. After it's done, she said she would give me 10,000 yuan. Stella immediately got angry. What are you talking about? I don't even know you. I gave them a half smile. Since that's the case, we can't keep you at our restaurant anymore. Manager, remember to settle her salary. Everyone understood the ins and outs of the situation and exchanged a knowing glance. I looked at their excited eyes and estimated that tonight Stella's secrets would be completely exposed. The next day, Dylan somehow found out that I was the owner behind the delicious restaurant and blocked me at the company entrance early in the morning. Nora, why have you never told me that you are the owner of the delicious restaurant? I looked at him mockingly. Of course, I'll tell you after I get married, but unfortunately, it seems you don't have the fate to live off a woman. Dylan looked at me angrily. It's just a lousy restaurant. What are you so proud of? Let me tell you, Stella is the daughter of our company's chairman. Is that so? Since she is so wealthy, why are you coming to me? You're still the same as before. Always wanting what's in the bowl while looking at what's in the pot. Dylan was left speechless by my retort. After dropping a line, he turned and walked away. This weekend is my engagement party with Stella. I hope you can still be so sharp-tongued when you're fired. I watched Dylan's back, lost in thought. Did I miss something that night? How did Stella become my parents' daughter again? When I arrived at the company, I noticed something was off. The colleagues who had scoffed at Stella yesterday were all gathered around her desk, complimenting her, saying, just look at Stella, she clearly comes from a wealthy family. I didn't expect her to be the daughter of our company's chairman. That's right, Stella, you really need to say a few good words for us. Our future depends on you, Stella. Stella glanced at me as I walked in, a half smile on her lips, and said, I can't take any credit for this. It all depends on our Nora's reputation. After all, she is the owner of the delicious restaurant. The colleagues around me glanced at me disdainfully. How can this compare to Stella's family background? I've heard that your family's company is already involved in every aspect of our city. It's a true business giant. Exactly. If anyone offends Stella, they better think twice about whether they can still get by in the city. As they finished speaking, they exchanged a meaningful glance in my direction. I almost burst out laughing. You weren't looking like this yesterday. How could such a big difference happen overnight? I suddenly thought of something and directly opened my phone to take a look at Stella's moments. Sure enough, there was a bright photo of my dad driving me here, but Stella cleverly only left the license plate and captioned it, in this world, only our own parents care for us the most. Everyone works at the company, so they immediately recognized my dad's license plate number. And thus they all believe the rumor that Stella is the chairman's daughter. I thought to myself, don't you have your own mom and dad? Why do you have to come and take mine? After thinking it over, I still didn't send that message. Since the weekend is Stella and Dylan's engagement party, I want to see how Stella plans to cover up her lie. Stella saw that I was silent and thought I was scared. So she smugly said to me, if you apologize to me now, I might consider not having my family blacklist you. I rolled my eyes. If you forgot what you did last night, I don't mind helping you review it, and the clothes you're wearing are already last year's style, right? Why isn't the young lady wearing the latest fashion? Stella shot me a guilty glance and said, just wait, you'll find out this weekend. The female colleague next to us saw that Stella was at a loss for words after I confronted her, so she quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Nora, this is just Stella's sense of style. You might not understand it since you just arrived. She often pairs her clothes like this. I almost burst out laughing. I really couldn't tell if this female colleague was here to help Stella or to help me. Sure enough, when Stella heard this, her face turned green. Mia, what do you mean by that? If you don't understand aesthetics, don't speak carelessly here. Be careful, or I'll dock your pay. And you, Nora, I won't let my mom and dad let you off the hook. I replied lightly. I don't know whether your family will let me go or not, but I only know that you are working under me right now, and you dare to threaten your superior? You've been warned once and for all. Your performance for this month is cancelled. Our young lady surely won't mind this little bonus, right? Stella was curious with me, yet she still had to maintain a smile on her face. Gritting her teeth, she said, how could I possibly care about this little amount of money? Before getting off work on Friday, Stella specifically came to my desk to declare, in the end, I will be the winner. Dylan will still marry me. I disdainfully said, if you're willing to pick up trash, I certainly am not. You must stay together forever and never go out to harm others again. You probably don't know yet, but Dylan is going to be promoted to vice president of the company. I wonder what you'll use to oppose us in the future. I watched Stella's arrogant figure and chuckled softly to myself. Long before Dylan and I called off the wedding, I had already formed this revenge plan in my mind. Dylan believed that his promotion was obtained through connections at Stella's home, while Stella thought that being with Dylan would lead to a good life. In a way, they were quite compatible. They both enjoy daydreaming. Let them be proud for one more day. By tomorrow, they will experience the taste of falling from the clouds into the mire. The next morning, I specifically timed it so that my dad would take me to the hotel where Stella and Dylan were getting engaged. By the time we arrived, everyone in the company was already gathered. Everyone gathered in front of Stella and Dylan to congratulate them, seeking to assert their presence. Stella, I heard the chairman is coming today, so you must say a few good words for us then. My dad is very busy and doesn't have time to come over. Let's talk about it when Dylan and I get married. People with sharp eyes have already spotted my dad's license plate number and are getting excited. Stella, it seems the chairman still cares about you. He specifically came over for this. Enough. I've already said my dad doesn't have time to come over today, and you keep talking. Dylan was the first to sense something was off. Stella, don't you recognize the license plate of the person in front? I laughed at this scene. For someone like Stella, who spends all day slacking off at the company, recognizing the higher-ups is a sign that she has at least a bit of sense. I don't know, why should I recognize someone else's license plate number? I got out of the car and said, so our chairman's daughter actually doesn't know her father's license plate number? Everyone stared at me as I got out of the car, stunned. Nora, you are the chairman's daughter? At this moment, Stella was still stubbornly arguing. It's impossible. How could Nora be the chairman's daughter? Who knows if this is a car she stole from my house? Gradually, Stella's voice grew softer as my dad stood behind me with a serious expression on his face. This lady, I hope you can be more mindful in your speech. Nora is my daughter, and it is only natural for me to drive my daughter, not the so-called thief you speak of. Dylan hesitantly stepped forward. I'm sorry, Chairman. It's all because my family member speaks too bluntly. I will definitely teach her a good lesson when I get back. I just don't know about my promotion to vice president of the company. My dad glanced at me helplessly, clearly aware that all of this was my revenge. Dylan, do you think that after you betrayed my daughter, I would still arrange for you to be the vice president of the company? On Monday, go to the HR department to report in, and after you receive your salary, look for another job. Dylan stood frozen in place, never expecting that not only had the company's vice president disappeared, but he had also lost his job. Now no one dared to speak at all, fearing that the next one to get into trouble would be themselves. I stared intently into Dylan's eyes, wanting to hear his thoughts like before, but I found that I could no longer hear them. I secretly rejoiced. Does this mean I have completely freed myself from Dylan? Dylan thought that I still had feelings for him, and secretly slipped me a room key in front of everyone. As we headed to the hotel, I glanced at it with disgust and casually tossed it into the trash can. Dylan's mother, upon seeing me, immediately mocked. "Isn't this the girl that my son Dylan rejected before? How dare you show up at my son's engagement party? I must tell you, my daughter-in-law is the daughter of the chairman of Xingming Company. Luckily my son didn't marry you, otherwise he wouldn't have this wonderful match now." Dylan desperately gestured to his mother, but she kept on saying, "I heard you work at Stella's company. If you cancel all the money my son owes you, I might consider letting you continue working there. Otherwise, think about the consequences." I spoke up before Dylan could. "Auntie, you're still as greedy as last time, taking everything in sight. You must return this money to me. I'm sure you've received the court summons by now. Secondly, I wish Dylan and Stella to always be together, and not go out to harm others. You don't need to worry about my job. You should think about your son's job first." Dylan then stepped forward and pulled his mother aside, quietly explaining the current situation. "Mom, Nora is actually the daughter of our company's chairman. We've all mistaken the wrong person." Dylan's mother turned pale after hearing this and ran straight to Stella, slapping her hard. "You liar! How dare you deceive me? Give me back the money I gave you before." I listened with great interest for a long time before I understood that Stella, under the guise of my dad, specifically asked Dylan's mom for a dowry of $1 million. Dylan's family simply couldn't come up with that much money, so they had no choice but to sell their house back home. They were just waiting for Stella to take them to live in the big villa. Who would have thought that this dream would be shattered? In the scuffle, they accidentally bumped into Chester. Nearby, a big secret was discovered again. Stella's underwear unexpectedly fell out from inside Chester's suit jacket. Dylan couldn't sit still any longer, and directly got into a fight with Chester. In an instant, the perfectly planned engagement party turned into a scene of mutual brawling, with people around pulling out their phones to capture the moment while I sat nearby, munching on sunflower seeds and enjoying the spectacle. After a long time, the police finally arrived slowly. I couldn't help but laugh when I saw the bald spot on Stella's head. Stella suddenly pointed at me and shouted, "Officer, it's all her fault. If it weren't for her, my engagement party wouldn't have turned out like this. You need to arrest her right now." Hey, what a coincidence. The police officer leading the team today happens to be my cousin. He missed the best opportunity to teach Dylan a lesson that day because he was on a mission and often felt frustrated in the family group chat. He didn't expect to run into Dylan again today. I gave my cousin a glance and began to cry. "Officer, when I was having a wedding with this scumbag, it was this woman who came to stir up trouble. They are really together now and still want to frame me. I am truly wronged." Dylan's mother seemed to see a savior, collapsing to the ground in a fit. "This woman is a marriage scammer. She swindled our family out of $1 million. Officer, you have to help us get it back." My cousin looked at them with disdain and said directly, "Yelling at me now is useless. All of you come with me to the police station to give statements." When they left, I quietly gave my cousin a thumbs up. Later, the next time I saw news about Dylan and Stella was when my cousin reported in the family group chat. After they got to the police station, Stella started shouting that she was pregnant and wanted Dylan to take responsibility, but Dylan's mom insisted it was Chester's. They ended up arguing right at the police station entrance. Just when we were about to have Stella return the money, we didn't expect that Dylan S.E. I got a marriage certificate with Stella, so now Dylan's family is in shock. Stella seems to still owe quite a bit in loans online. Previously, she used the $1 million from Dylan's family to pay off debts, but unexpectedly, she still owes a considerable amount in foreign debts. I replied in the group with "well done," then tossed my phone aside and went back to binge-watching my show. After this incident, I finally understood that love is too unreliable. If you're not careful, a man will betray you without hesitation. The story ends here.